Well, I remember when we finally, so Simone and I had finally decided to go ahead and do this, and I was put in contact with you to engage in beginning. I was extremely apprehensive. I knew you as a colleague and as someone who has with whom I've worked in the past, but not with regard to recording a work of mine. And I was apprehensive. I didn't know how natural this would be, how it would be, how easy the intersection from, let's say, a finale score, finale file to an orchestration. It seemed to me an unfathomable amount of work, and I didn't know that it would ever sound natural. So I was very apprehensive when I started. But first of all, I remember you got the score, and the request for getting the hard copy of the score was a very important issue for me, because I felt that right away it meant that you're interested in the music as it is notated, not as it is computer generated, so to speak, because of course it's copied into the computer, but it's been written with blood, sweat, and tears on a piece of paper. And I felt very much that that was an important thing. Furthermore, I remember after you got it, we went through the score by phone systematically with tempos. You're asking me precisely how to speed up to this tempo that you have, let's say in measure 60 or whatever, and how do you want to slow down, and you were very methodical about it. And so all of a sudden I got the sense that, well, okay, he's really discussing the flow, which is to me the hardest thing to get first. And then I remember you telling me that it would take you a week or so to generate all the parts, and that we were then going to fine-tune it, begin the fine-tuning process, but that getting the instruments connected and so on would take you about a week, and so on, that you were going to send me a demonstration of that. And I, again, didn't know quite what to expect, and when I did get it, it felt like a relief to me, because I actually started to hear my piece not as I had dreamed, but in fact as I had imagined, which is different. Dreaming is highfalutin. Imagining is how you work as a composer. You want it to sound as how you imagined. How you dream is another story. So I got it back, and I started to say, yes, that's starting to be how I hear this piece and how I've always heard this piece in my head. I think the next thing to point out is that your process afterwards was, first of all, amazingly giving of time. I will have to say that I was so impressed with how much effort, time you took on the phone, on the email, with me in the studio when we worked, to never making me feel stressed about a request or about a demand, about this is too loud, this is too slow. We fussed over several difficult tempo changes until it sounded natural, until it sounded right, and you were just ready to do it, and never made me feel as though my request was too much, or you don't want to do it again, you don't want to spend the time. And that to me is very important, because a work of art is a work of art, and it takes a lot of effort to do. And I feel that in many ways what you did is an electronic work of art. And it's hard to do that, to make something sound natural, comfortable, elegant. In an electronic medium, and I think through your sensitive care for the flow of the piece, the elegance of the lines, the balance of the instruments, it ended up sounding much more natural than anyone could possibly imagine.